Hello everyone. Today, welcome to this IGES Climate and Energy webinar series. Thank you so much for participating. I am Tamura from the IGES Energy sector. My name is Kentaro Tamura. Very nice to be working with you. The IGES Climate and Energy webinar series, every time we pick one hot theme, and we want to spend just hour talking about that topic in compact and brief and easy to understand manner. We usually spend the first half an hour of this 1 hour in presentation and explanations, and we spend the remaining half an hour for Q&A. The slide set that we'll be using for this webinar is already uploaded onto the IGES event site, so you can download the material from there. Today's webinar or lecture will be given in English, and we have a simultaneous interpretation service. So you are participating in the Zoom webinar function. You have an interpreter button on the bottom of your screen. Choose the language that you want to listen to. Now, please remember that we have ample time for Q&A, so please be free to give us your questions. We take questions in both English and Japanese, and we'll interpret and translate these questions as they come. Now, when you have a question, please use the Q&A button on the bottom of the Zoom screen. And so this is like a chat function, and it also gives you a little button to say like it. So if you see a question that you want to ask also, please press that like it button. All right, so let's get into the lecture. So continuing on the last time, our theme today is the IPCC assessment report number 6. And today we have from the IGES City Task Force Research Manager, Sudarmanto Budinurolofo. Also, or more commonly friendly known as Toto-san. And he's one of the writers of the section 10 transport in the WG3 report. And also, he was deeply involved in writing the SPM. So I will switch to English from now on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tamura-san.
Yeah, I'm very glad to having you today.
Okay.
Yeah, you have contributed to chapter 10 of IPCC AR6 Working Group 3 as the lead author.
Yes.
And also SPM as a drafting author.
Yes.
So could you start your presentation with a brief summary of SPM?
Okay. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to start my presentation by sharing my screen. So can you?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see my presentation now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So today I will talk about the summary for policymaker and in relation to the chapter 10. My name is Sudarmanto Budinugroho, as explained by Tamura-san already. So the content of today's presentation, first is general overview of the SPM, and the second, key important figure of the SPM, and executive summary of the chapter transport, new approach in chapter transport, and highlight from the chapter transport. So the summary for there are several key points in the introduction and framing, such as international policy process, diversity of actor and approach in the mitigation, linkage between climate mitigation, adaptation, and SDGs, new approach and increasing diversity in analytical framework for multiple disciplines, include social science. There are three important points in the recent development and current trends. First, the emission from urban sectors was increased. The second, there is a regional differences in terms of GHG emission per capita, while emission from shipping and aviation are across countries and regions. The third, there was a cost reduction for low carbon technologies. To limit the global warming from transport sector, need system transformation across energy system, urban system, demand side management, and also low carbon technology. Climate mitigation on transport sector also has linkage with adaptation or transport resilience and also sustainable development goals. Strengthening the response on transport sector need the assessment of the feasibility at near term, shift development pathways, and accelerate the transition. Climate governance, regulatory and economic instrument, financial flow, and also international cooperation as the critical enabler for achieving ambitious targets in the future. This figure shows that the emissions have grown in the most region, but are distributed unevenly. Here, I would like to highlight the special approach for the shipping and aviation. Here, international shipping and aviation. Shipping and aviation was discussed specifically in two sections in Chapter 10. It is transboundary across countries and regions. Therefore, it is explicitly wrote as international shipping and aviation. In relation to the chapter transport, the figure SPM3 shows the unit cost of some form of renewable energy and battery for passenger electric vehicles has fallen here. And their deployment continues to rise globally here. The figure SPM6 shows the demand side management on transport sector. Demand side can achieve through the change in socio-cultural factor, infrastructure design and use, and use technology adoption. Social culture factor, for example, teleworking, telecommuting, active mobility through walking and cycling. While infrastructure use, for example, public transport, compact cities, and share mobility. And use of technology adoption, for example, electric vehicle or shift to more efficient vehicles.
Toto-san,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, please, Tamura-san.
Okay, so may I interrupt?
Yes.
Yeah. This figure is very much interesting. So is it okay to say that around 2/3 of emission from the mobility in 2050 can be reduced by this demand side mitigation option?
Yes, that's exactly true. So here we have like this is the total emission from the demand side. This is from the supply side. Total emission from transport. This is from the supply side from land transport, and the three is from demand side. The first is from the socio-cultural factor, the blue one. The red one is from the infrastructure use, and the yellow one is from end-use technology adoption. That's exactly the point that you mentioned.
Thank you.
I will continue, okay. The figure SPM7 shows the options available on transport sector are estimated over substantial potential to reduce net emission by 2030. Relative potential and cost will vary across countries and in the long term compared to 2030. The figure SPM8 shows mitigation options on transport sector have synergies with the sustainable development goals, but some options also have trade-off. The synergy and trade-off vary depending on the context and scale. For example, here, shift to bikes, e-bikes, and non-motorized have synergies and also trade-off with the SDG 3 on the good health and well-being. This is the medium confidence, because besides improved health, it's also increased the risk for the injuries, fatalities, and exposure to the air pollution in some places. From this slide, we will move to the main report of the transport sector. So first, to meet the climate mitigation goals on the transportation will require transformative change. This is high confidence because GHG emission from transport sector were 8.74 gigaton. It is accounted for 23% of the global transport emission from energy related, and 70% of them come from the road vehicles. The emission from shipping, however, the emission from shipping and aviation will continue to grow rapidly, and emission in the developing region of the world have increased more rapidly than others, and it is likely to continue in the coming decades. This is high confidence also. The report also showed there is a need for demand management solution combined with the new technologies, because the potential GHG emission reduction up to 6.5 gigaton equivalent for land transport. There is a need for infrastructure change to enable behavior change and reduce demand for transport service or make more efficient transport services. The response to COVID-19 pandemic shows that behavioral change at the massive scale and in a short time is possible, and it can reduce GHG emission from transport sector, and cities can play an important role because the potential reduction around 25%, which could be achieved through combination of more compact land use and the provision of less car-dependent infrastructure. The economic incentive is necessary to support this systemic change. Battery electric vehicles support by low carbon electricity give the high potential on GHG emission reduction for land-based transport. However, it will require investment in electric charging and related grid infrastructure. This electromobility powered by low carbon electricity have multiple co-benefits and could be applied rapidly in developing world's growth cities. EV could be used also to decarbonize land-based, long-range, and heavy-duty truck, complemented by hydrogen and biofuel, and it also can support rail decarbonization. Decarbonization options for shipping and aviation still require R&D, so advanced biofuel, ammonia, and synthetic fuel are emerging as viable options. For a future scenario from the model, indicates that without intervention, CO2 emission from transport could grow about 60 to 50% by 2050. It's medium confidence. There is a growth in demand for freight and passenger services, particularly in developing countries in Asia and Africa. To limit the warming to 1.5 degrees with no limit or limited overshot, suggests that a 59 reduction by 2050. However, the reduction may not happen uniformly across regions. Electrification tend to play the key role in land-based transport, but biofuel and hydrogen and also derivatives could play a role in decarbonization of freight and also aviation and shipping. Integrated low carbon energy infrastructure, including low carbon power generation and hydrogen production, are also necessary to support GHG emission reduction on transport sector. The report also shows the importance of role of international cooperation, national government, and also city government and other stakeholders. The low carbon aviation and shipping fuel require change to the national and international governance structures. Considering critical mineral for the batteries, the standardization of battery modules and packaging within and across vehicle platform, as as well as increased focus on the design for recyclability are important. Legislated climate strategies are emerging at all levels of the government that could spur the deployment of demand and supply side mitigation strategies. At the local level, legislation can support local transport plans that include behavioral change. At the national and regional level, legislation can include vehicles and fuel efficient standard, R&D support, and investment in large scale of low carbon transport infrastructure. The life cycle assessment on transport was used.
この運輸セクターのライフサイクルアセスメントですけれども、失礼。
Was used in AR6 to shift the calculation GHG emission from tank to wheel to wheel to wheel. So which cover the upstream of the energy system to support transport sector, production process of the vehicle, and the use of the vehicle itself. It also include the recyclable process of the vehicle. Similar approach could be used, applied for the other type of vehicles like bus, trucks, e-bikes, motorcycle, and also for other modes like railway, such high-speed railway, subway, LRT, and others. So this page shows the example of analysis of the GHG life cycle GHG emission intensity for mid-size light-duty vehicle and fuel technologies from the literature. The figure summarizes the harmonization finding from the academic literature review and the data submitted through the IPCC data collection effort. Currently, BEV have a higher manufacturer emission than equivalent size of the ICEV. This higher production of emission of BEV are largely attributed to the battery pack manufacture and to the addition power of electronic requirement, because the ICEV production is already in very efficient. The ability to achieve large carbon reduction via vehicle electrification thus highly dependent on the generation of low carbon electricity here. The literature suggests that current BEV, if manufactured on low carbon electricity as well as operated on low carbon electricity, will have the footprint as the lowest for a compact size car compared to others. This figure, life cycle GHG intensity of land-based freight and fuel types, each bar represent the range of life cycle estimate bounded by minimum and minimum energy use per ton kilometer as reported for each fuel powertrain combination. The range are driven by different vehicle characteristic and operating efficiency. For energy source with a highly variable upstream emission, low and medium or high representative value are shown in the spirit row. So this is the different.
Toto-san, yeah, yes. Thank you very much. Going back to the previous slide.
Yes.
Yes, I think this is very important slide. So yeah, one question. So under the current situation, so low carbon electricity and low carbon hydrogen, availability of low carbon electricity and low carbon hydrogen kind of a precondition for those mitigation option actually work as. So
yes. So I mean here like the BEV if produced in the manufacture use the low carbon electricity and also in the running they use the low carbon electricity, it could be produced like this one. While for the hydrogen in the production it use the low carbon electricity in the manufacture, but in the fuel itself it also need low carbon electricity to produce that hydrogen to maximize the impact on the mitigation.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So yeah, and this is the last page on the this figure: life cycle GHG emission and intensity on land-based freight and fuel types. Each bar represent the range of the life cycle estimate bounded by minimum and maximum energy use per kilometer as reported for the type of fuel or powertrain combination. The range are driven by difference in the load, vehicle characteristic, and operation efficiency. For energy source with highly variable upstream emission, low and medium, and also high representative value are shown in spirit row.
Sorry, going back. So may I interrupt again?
Yes.
Oh, that's this life cycle assessment of the mobility.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned that this approach is going to be used for regulatory purpose as well in different countries.
Yes. Yes. So I mean, like I think, yeah, this one is like this is the process in Japan, in Europe, and also in China that will use.
So they're going to use this approach.
Yes, sure. This is the source from the METI. Yeah. And also it could be used for example, for the other modes like rail. Also like because like in the Japanese context, if you would like to promote like LRT or a subway or like other rail system, you can also apply this approach. Yeah. So as mentioned in the SPM, the recent development and current trend shows the emission from urban sector was increased, and urban planning and design could potentially reduce GHG emission without simply relying on the technology and overcome the lock-in around the automobile use. Highly accessible urban design could potentially reduce GHG emission and provide more inclusive cities and also improve the well-being. This figure shows the mitigation option and enabling condition for transport needs scale include strategies that still require innovation. The x-axis shows the time to deliver in near term and in medium term. Y-axis shows the commercialization level in the market, and also the Z-axis shows the scale of the adoption. For example, on the land-based transport mitigation, for example, the current trend shows the electromobility already available in the market and highly adopted and could be implemented immediately. This figure summarizes the extent of which a different factor would enable or inhibit the deployment of mitigation option in transport. Blue bars indicate the extent indicator enabler of the implementation of the option, while the orange bar indicate the extent indicator of barrier to the deployment of the option relative to the maximum possible barrier and enabler. For example, here the use of biofuel for the land transport, aviation, and shipping are very visible due to its availability in the market. However, it is also has strong barrier on the land use, a trend off on the land use, water quality and quantity, and also biomass, biodiversity. So, in summary, the recent development and current trends. So in summary of the transport sector, the recent development and current trends. So the emission from urban sector was increased. There is regional differences in terms of GHG emission per capita, while emission from shipping and aviation are across countries and region. There was a cost reduction for low carbon technology. To limit the global warming from transport sector, need system transformation across energy system, urban system, demand side management, and low carbon technology intervention. Climate mitigation on transport sector also has linkage with the adaptation or transport resilience and also sustainable development goals. Strengthening the mitigation action on transport sector need the feasibility assessment at near term, shift development pathway, and accelerate transition, governance and also stakeholder engagement, regulatory and economic instrument, and international cooperation as critical enabler for achieving ambitious targets in the future. That's all my presentation today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Toto-san, for giving us very informative presentation. Yeah, we'd like to move on to the Q&A session. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. We have a couple of questions. First one is regarding teleworking. Can teleworking be really one of the solutions for emission reduction? For those who use public transportation, it will make a large impact or not. So, Tosan, how about this one? First question.
Okay, so yeah, actually, we still have a limited information on the teleworking. It shows the potential, but how about the real contribution? We still need to collect some information from the literature at this moment. So we don't have. So that's why they say like still in the medium confidence, not the high level confidence yet.
Yeah, thank you. But and also, if you go show that the figure,
yeah,
on the demand side contribution to emission reduction in the mobility. Okay. I think teleworking the not that big solution. I mean, okay. So yeah, these figures. Yeah. Could you enlarge or slideshow mode?
Yes, yes. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, take your time. Take your time.
Sorry. Yes. Here, the potential is from the socioculture, like teleworking, is actually very small, like the blue one here.
Right.
Compared to the infrastructure use, like a public transport or complexity, which is so like this one, and also technology intervention, like end-use technology. But this end-use technology, again, it's a precondition is like supported with low carbon electricity, as mentioned.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, but also teleworking is good for some work-life balance or some other social purpose. So
yeah, that's it's for the SDG purpose, I think.
SDG purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. And let's move on to next question. So life cycle GHG may have a trade-off to other life cycle or social cost. How will you combine them in the further research?
This is a difficult question, I think, because we actually, for example, we mentioned in the battery production, for example. Let me share the screen. I think no. Let me find the. I think, yeah. I think this one. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry. Yes. So we actually recognize some we need some standardization for the battery module and packaging with social and within a cross-vehicle platform. Also, try to think about recyclability of the battery itself, because this is need some international cooperation. So I think so, because this is somehow we count as the impact on the. That's why in the life cycle we saw like a social impact on the recycle, but not yet on the social aspect. But we are considered that one in the SPM, I think, because of labor shortage, etc. So let me show. Yeah, I think that, but probably not fully cover the social cost, but some part of the social cost we already consider here.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, still we need some further research.
Yes, yes, sure.
Okay, thank you very much. And another question is also related to the life cycle assessment. So the question is, has METI decided to use life cycle assessment for GHG emission estimation, including modal ones?
So for this one, probably the better asking on the METI side. But I would like to say, like when we did some study, let me show. Oh, sorry. When we did the study, actually, within the IPCC, we would like to have more on the modal, like with high speed railway, because this is will be very important when we compare to the shifting from aviation to high speed railway, and also for the normal rail, and also like subway and LRT. But we have limited, so that's why I think if we will have a research on that field, that will be contribute to the next assessment cycle of the IPCC. Probably in the AR7, there will be more information on this side, on the other modes, on the modals.
Okay. Yeah, and also your previous slide say that the METI Japan we're going to introduce well-to-wheel fuel standard.
Yes. From 2030. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so next question is maybe for EV.
Yes.
I assume there will be a lot of issues and challenges in terms of recycling batteries in developing countries. How this has been discussed and considered in the IPCC report?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how is this issue will be addressed in the future? And currently there is a pile of the e-waste in developing country that is damaging the environment and the human. So before talking EV, should not we deal with this e-waste garbage first? Okay.
Yeah, I think as we mentioned in, as we mentioned here, actually we pointed out in the executive summary of the transport sector is one of the bullet point is the importance of the design for the recyclability are important here. We mentioned here clearly because we understand when we did some assessment in the IPCC, the concern of the waste from the battery is very high, and also nowadays there is some literature so about the market for recycle battery, like used battery, not the new battery, like second use of battery, like recycle battery, something like that. In some literature shows that one. So I think there will be a expansion of the research on that field, I think. Thank you very much for the question.
Yeah, and also maybe your last figure, I think that figure also indicates some the challenges for
which one?
The last one.
This one?
Yeah, there's some, I think this electricity vehicle. Yeah, there's some challenges.
Like here we have like mentioned about the barrier on the toxic waste, ecotoxicology and eutrophication. We also mentioned here in the assessment report already. But probably in the future, this may, but it's still in the medium evidence, not yet very strong like this one. So we, because for example, like ammonia or biofuel is very strong already evidence from literature about the impact on the biodiversity. If we have more strong evidence, then the color will shift to the more dark on this one, I think.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. So these issues are actually addressed
Yes.
in the IPCC report.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, this is really clear. Okay, thank you. A lot of questions. Okay, so next one is I changed. In figure 10.4, calculated under the same condition for the country in which the car was made and the country in which it was used. Okay. So is the impact of import and export also considered in that data?
Okay, let me show again the figure. Here, actually, we collected the data. As I mentioned, we asked some participation from all over the world to because we summarize and harmonize finding from the academic literature review and also data submitted through IPCC data collection effort. I think 2 years ago we make a call for data submission through the IPCC channel. So here I think the dot, if you can you see this? Sorry, let me. So this one, so the dots are actually from the data. This is the dot. This is same the dot. This is dot. So the data itself is very across the countries and region and also across the fuel and manufacture. So this is based on what we collected the data actually. So I can say like this considered from all over the world which submitted data to us. I mean, like if they don't submit the data, then we don't have. But for the LDV, actually we have plenty of the data, like the small car compared to like heavy duty truck and others. Because this one there are already in many places, so we have a lot of sufficient data for this one actually.
Okay, so is it okay to say that the range of this data reflects some differences in the country's condition? Yes,
that's okay. exactly the point.
Okay, so yeah, I think that answered this question. Yeah, thank you very much. Then next question is, thank you very much. So 2 questions. So the concept of life cycle GHG intensity is interesting, but how IPCC compares the result of life cycle GHG intensity resulted in different countries, especially how did IPCC summarize? I think you
already
you just answer this question.
Yes.
Yeah, that's you just and also EV battery cost sharply declined, but about EV efficiency, did IPCC summarize its data as well? So I'm not quite sure EV efficiency, but could you answer this question?
Yeah, I think EV efficiency, I think put it here as in the life cycle here. For the data of the technology, there is some figure already in the one, but the efficiency are here because the intensity is like there is some. This is the median value, but this is the efficiency. We summarize the information based on the literature available at this moment.
So okay.
So this is include the manufacture and how the battery are produced, made, which is vary across countries.
Okay. So not only battery, but also EV
production
manufacturing
itself.
Its EV itself is included here.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Then okay, next question. Transportation linked to the city planning. Yes. So did IPCC discuss such interaction? And if so, what kind of implication and the outcome were concluded? I think this is your area.
Okay. So this is actually in IPCC, there are 3 chapters talking about the transport. The first chapter on the demand in the chapter 5, and the second chapter on the urban in the chapter 8, and the third one in the chapter 10 of transport. In chapter 10, transport, we mainly focus on the technology intervention and small talking about the demand and also urban design. However, let me show you this. Sorry. We have like a cross-chapter box, we can call it. Yeah, this one. We have in chapter 10, we have a cross-chapter box urban form, because to simultaneously reduce urban transport emission, avoiding infrastructure lock-in, and provide accessible service. So this chapter box written by lead author from the 3 different groups, like from our chapter, from urban chapter, and from demand chapter. So we built together this. So I think the question are already represented here. However, we don't have any such like for very deep discussion on this one, but we are considering that one in the box.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, so next question is, so how do you calculate the GHG emission on the recycle or waste management? Also, it has mentioned as other question, have there any discussion on the risk of waste management of each energy?
So yeah, probably I will mention again. Actually, for this one, actually we that figures actually harmonize the finding from the academic literature review and also data submitted through the IPCC data collection effort. This submission, as I mentioned 2 years ago, we make a call for data submission. We are asking some cooperation for many researcher and manufacturer and other to submit the data for this one. So that figure actually is summarized of what we have of the literature and the data that's submitted to us.
So that data was submitted by the waste management the companies or recycling companies. Or...
I need to check, but it's from all over the world.
Okay.
Basically, I mean, if they submitted the data, then we will, of course, we will consider it. But if they don't submit the data, then we don't have the data. That's we should say something like that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Then there's a lot of questions related to life cycle assessment. So, where concepts do you split into to do the calculation? For instance, emission from production, one like initial cost, and emission from usage, like running cost.
Again, I mentioned like we in detail. If you would like to know more and how we calculate, it is available in appendix 3 in our chapter. So there is a showing the. I think you can access to the IPCC report is already available, and it in our chapter also available, and there is detail in the appendix how to calculate in detail. So it's better if you are interested on that life cycle in detail how we calculate. It's better to check on the appendix.
Okay.
Basically.
Thank you. Okay, so there are lots of questions. So there's some you just mentioned the need for the registration. Okay. So is it okay to understand that the students' voluntary transitions or voluntary action are not in time? So for necessary reduction, that means I think kind of mandatory approach is necessary. Or what do you think?
Okay. For this one, I think the chapter 5 capture it very clearly that individual action is good, but like a massive or like a community action is more appropriate, because like that's why the need some social change in the social structure, in not like bring the individual to the organization or community level, not only in the individual level, but bring it to the community level or to the society level. This is the important. So that's why the some encouragement bring that individual level action to the community level, that will be meaningful in terms of controlling the demand from the transport. This is for example. I give you the example. For example, like nowadays, many company has more now open the regulation or open the suggestion for like work from home, etc. This is become more like a culture of the company, like balancing of hybrid work from home and work from office. Such kind of a movement is necessary, because in the past it's like more on the individual. Some people would like to have more in like work from home or work from office, but now the movement is become institutional on the organization level or community level, not only belonging to the individual level.
Yeah, of course, the kind of institutionalization is necessary, but how about the kind of time scale? I mean, this question asking the, the kind of voluntary action is can actually meet that urgency of action.
Actually, let me share the screen again. Let me find the. Actually, the COVID-19, as written here, the immediate change on the behavior is possible in a very short time. Because the probably let me show you. Let me use this one. This one, I think. Yes. We can say like behavioral intervention at massive scale and at short time is possible. So, I mean, like in response to that question, whether we need to do it now or later, if we would like to do now with some kind of strong regulation or strong policy intervention, it's possible. Because this is so like because during COVID-19 pandemic, in many countries they have lockdown or travel restriction, etc. It's so that they can do it, and in a short time it can reduce the GHG emission. That's basically evidence for us. But we need to have, of course, we need to have like more research on this one. But it's so that is possible.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. And yeah, sorry, bombarding you with a lot of questions. But the next one is electric vehicles calculation done considering a replacement of current fleet. So, or does it assume less or more private vehicle due to different use of public transportation?
Actually, in our chapter, we also mentioned that we need to overcome lock-in of automobile use. We mentioned clearly in page. Let me show you. And on the urban cross-chapter urban. Yeah, this one. So, I mean, like we need to avoid lock-in around automobile use, actually, which is like, of course, technology intervention through the EV is good and potentially good, but we need to reduce that one through the more like more compact in the city, like more walking and cycling, and because this will be more better in terms of that one. Hopefully that can answer the question.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so next one is regarding with the cost of life cycle assessment. Is it correct to understand that the whole picture becomes the responsibility of the manufacturers? So
no, we cannot say like that because let me show you. Sorry.
No.
Let me share again. This one. Yeah, I think if we look at this one, this is for the fuel. Of course, this is the company, and this is also the this one also the company. However, like as we mentioned in the demand model also, here on the demand, we say like this technology intervention is only here.
Right.
And this is the supply side of the transport, and this is on the social culture, and this is on the public infrastructure use. So if we talk on the EV, yes, of course, but this is the component that we cannot forget because there's another is on the demand. So the mitigation on the transport is not only on the technology, but also on the demand side, as I mentioned, and also systemic change on the urban.
Yeah, and also for this particular question, the life cycle assessment of the, for example, EV, I think it's really depend on the type of the electricity. So
yes.
it go beyond the responsibility of the manufacturer.
Yeah. Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think, so not necessarily for the whole responsibility we put on the manufacturer.
Yeah, because this one is like energy producer.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so next question on feasibility assessment table. So how did IPCC quantify high, mid, and low possibility of feasibility and barriers? So what kind of indicator did IPCC use, and what kind of method did IPCC use to quantify the feasibility in the transportation sector?
This is actually very nice question and very because we would like to put this feasibility table in the summary for policymaker, but because of this still controversial as the question, we cannot put it into the summary for policymaker. But we try. First, what I can say, like in the principle, we are assessing the literature. Okay, if the literature, most of the literature say the same conclusion, we can say like this is high confidence in one direction. But if the literature say, for example, for the let's say I would like to say like in the SDG table, for example, walking and cycling is actually good for health. This is good for health, but some literature show this is some risk for the injuries or fatalities, because we cannot say like, okay, cycling in Japan is safe, but cycling in other developing countries is sometimes dangerous. So that's increase the fatalities. And also if you did the cycling and walking more than actual one, it's also increase the injuries, potential injuries. So you have the injuries for your knee, you have injury for the foot, etc. So that's why we cannot say like all are positive, that one. So the same approach will also apply for this one. For example, like the demand reduction and mode shift is very easy and feasible. Most of them are enable. But for the biofuel, as I mentioned, we have some controversial or still like trade-off with the biodiversity, with the water, and with the land use. So that's why we cannot say all are positive. And also like using the ammonia for the shipping is still also have some negative impact. Yeah, that's basically like how we do the SAM assessment, because we have here like the score. If like if it's totally like for example, we can say like totally for the biofuel have a barrier on the biodiversity. This is totally 100%. So we make a full like this one. But if we said like this one, biofuel and the toxicity, and also like because some are still enabler, some barrier. So then we have like both sides, half.
Okay, but it is kind of based upon some expert judgment.
No. Basically, we collect some literature.
Okay.
And then if the literature, as I say, give this, for example, we assess like 100 or 200, and all are say like on the same direction, same conclusion. We can say like in this like dark blue or something, or dark yellow. But if some literature still have some say A, the other literature say B, we need to have like in the middle, like a medium confidence.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that's not clear. Okay, so I think time is running out. But so next question on my list is when it comes to transportation, not only accessibility, but also safety, like avoiding car accident, and less its impact is important. How that kind of point is included? I think you just pointed out, these things.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, maybe this is the last question. Because second-hand cars from developed countries are usually used in developing countries. Sometimes they are used as a public transportation. In that case, how do you calculate by each country's settings, and how the regulation would it be? It's a bit difficult.
It's a little bit difficult, but basically in IPCC, we did assessment of the literature. Okay, if they publish that one in in the like we have like acceptable peer-reviewed journal. It is a literature that we can fully adopt it. Well, if the gray literature like a report or etc., we can still use it, but we need to make a assessment from our side whether this report can be used as the literature or not. So it's depending on the I know this issue, but however we should start with the literature. We cannot say this is our preference or our judgment. We should say like because our task in the IPCC report is to make an assessment of the literature, make a synthesis review of the literature, and make some a kind of summary of that one.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'd like to close this Q&A session. And thank you very much, Toto-san, for your great effort to answering the lots of questions. I think this is one of the most kind of interactive Q&A sessions. So thank you very much for your contribution.
Welcome.
はい。皆さん本当にたくさんのご質問ありがとうございました。
Well, thank you very much for a lot of questions. And so today we dealt with the working group through report of the IPCC AR6 and Chapter 10 transport. And then we invited Toto-san, who is one of the lead authors of this chapter and the SPM. And the transport is not just about the transport itself, but it is also related to energy, and social transformation is needed. And also what kind of transportation mode we are going to choose as individuals, that's also very important. And that is the key message that we can take home from this session today. And I hope that this gave you an opportunity to think about these things, whether in your local community or in your business environment. So the next webinar will be held after the long holidays on 12th of May and the 19th of May. And we are going to have the next series of this explanation about the briefing about the IPR6. And on the 12th, we are going to provide the simultaneous interpretation between English and Japanese. On the 12th, from the sustainable development point of view, this climate change issue will be addressed. And on the 19th, we are going to deal with the importance of the actions from the demand side. And lastly, we would like you to fill in the questionnaire. And in order for us to improve further our webinar series, please give us your feedback, and you can fill in the questionnaire, which will appear after this webinar is closed, or you can also answer the questionnaire through the email that we will send you. So with this, we would like to close this session of the climate change webinar series. Thank you for the very nice presentation and good questions from the audience. Thank you very much, and see you again next time.